Hi, beautiful.
Hi, Julie. How are you?
I won't say I haven't quit crying, but there's less tears and more observing and learning. And
Well, it's a process. You can't speed up uh, the healing of the heart. You can put some things in place that comfort your heart and that bring peace, but you're still going to have those waves of healing, like layers of an onion, right? That nobody escapes, not even me as a therapist or a psychic medium. When I have lost loved ones, I still have meltdowns. I still miss them. I still cry. But it does seem that when you realize that they're right beside you every day, and that you can communicate with them, and they do send messages back
oh
to
my gosh,
you through amazing ways, it does just help you realize that it's not a forever thing. It's just different, and so there's that time of adjustment, I think, in that the grieving process allows for you to accept and adjust and then agree to have the kind of relationship that you can have with them, even though it's going to be very different until you meet again.
I tell you, I've walked in and out of Monique's office 30 times a day to get water, take the dogs out, do something just to stretch. And the very end of yesterday, a little tiny white feather, and I'm like, where did this come from? I mean, thank
I
you. And
love
I get
that.
joyful. And you go, I keep hearing you say, Julie, you are so lucky. She sends you all kinds of signs. But it's like, I walked by this spot 50 times, and it's like, where did this come from? And all I can do is hear her laughing.
Well, yes. And, you have to be open to receive those
I
little
am now that you've
messages.
taught me.
Well, yeah. And once you realize that it's easier than you think, right? But it is
Yeah.
tied to the level of grieving or depression or heaviness that you're going through. And it doesn't mean that you can't be having a meltdown and then all of a sudden a sign comes through for them to
Yeah.
lift you up, right? But you also have to have time frames of just being able to remember them for who they were, not necessarily their story and death. But when you remember the beauty and the joy and their smile and the laughter, it raises your vibration so that you can easily recognize when that feather is sitting right there, which you may have walked by it and not even seen it, but in that moment you saw it and you recognized it and you received it, and it brought warmth and love and peace to your heart.
Oh, you've
And
taught me so much, so much. You have. And it's so funny because you'll start laughing. Somebody sent me a video, Bon Jovi starting his concerts, and I would listen to this video, and Brent took me back to when Monique and I went, and I started crying, and I looked at her picture and I said, we had such wonderful memories. I turned around and walk out, and there's that feather.
okay, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is you're still human, you're still going to have emotions, right? But if you see that cup as half full instead of empty, and you say, well, how can you love me? How can you support me? How are you going to show up? And the minute you get into that vibration is when a sign will appear, just to remind you, so that they can remind you and say, Mom, I know you're having a tough time, but here's a feather to let you know, right? To make you feel comforted. And that's
And the
really how
Jovi
it,
video. And you're
yeah,
such a
Bon
brat
Jovi
sending
video,
that
right?
one.
Yeah, and that's how it works. And it's not to say you can't and you're not going to receive those when you're having your heaviness in the grieving process or the meltdowns, but you don't recognize them as easily, and it's really harder to reach you when you're in that state. And so when you are able to just get to the point where you can have a breath, you get to see how often they send you
Oh my
signs.
gosh.
And it makes it a whole lot easier from day to day to know that they're right there and they can communicate with you often and in fun ways too. It makes the grieving process a little bit easier, because it just reassures you, that they're around.
So thank you. Really, you've helped me so much. I mean, every time it's like Sean said.
And sometimes it doesn't resonate or show up, for a couple of days or a week. But when it does, you automatically remember either what you've been working on in the program or through one of our conversations or readings, and you go, oh, there it is. And I wish it could be instant gratification. I wish it could happen all the time, right when you absolutely are demanding it. But I do think that they show up at the divine moment that you really needed that extra hug from them across the veil.
Yeah. And like I said, that video, I started crying, reminiscing, and then I was thinking of one you sent me and started kind of laugh. And then I, like I said, turned around and there is this, I walked by that place 10 times and
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, you participated in the Words Left Unspoken program, which is different than the Permission to Live Again Life After Death program. And in the Words Left Unspoken, which you were in, you really had to understand the grieving process and give yourself time and compassion to move through that so that you could learn to communicate, learn to receive the signs that they're giving you. And it just gives you a little extra support through the heaviness. Whereas the Permission to Live Again Life After Death is when you are absolutely in acceptance, ready to move forward, and have them side by side instead of feeling so much of they're gone and I won't see them. And it's a different experience, but you're still learning how to connect, how to communicate, how to receive signs. You just get a little more TLC in the grieving process, which, you needed that. And so everybody has their own process of healing, and it's important to recognize where you're at and just have compassion for yourself where you're at.
Oh, you're just amazing. I mean, you have helped me.
Well, I've learned so much from you too.
Have you?
Yes, and you give me inspiration, and I learned things from you too that
oh my gosh,
I really listen to your process, and what I do is anything that you've told me that's helped you, I reuse that story in working with other people because
awesome.
I've never lost a child, and so I can understand and empathize with what it feels like to lose a loved one, but a child I cannot. And so I have a ton of clients that have lost children, and only a mother who has lost a child can truly understand how deep it hurts the heart. And so, some of the things that you have shared with me, I reshare with my other clients, and it helps them get it. It helps them.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Monique's doing it, I'm telling you.
Oh, well, she's doing it through you, through me, and for other people. And that's the beauty. Their healing from across the veil is not to just be shared with you. It's to be shared with everybody who it would help. And so I'm just the messenger. And if you say something from Monique that helped you, I'm going to share it with someone else, because
absolutely.
That's
and
what
I
you
share
do.
your things all the time with friends, and they've lost, and my grief counselor said.
Well, and I really appreciate that, because getting the word out to people is really where it's at. I think when people can hear the genuineness coming from a client, they really can have hope that it can happen for them too. And it absolutely can, and I can talk about it all day, but when they can see you smile, when they can see how it has helped and impacted you, then they know it's true and real, and they may open their heart and be a little bit more open to it.
I mean, truly, when I found you, I did not want to live. I did not want to exist. You know that. I wanted to just,
I do.
But you have turned everything around, and I would still love to be with Monique, but I've learned from you in your time in this, you have things to do. She wants you to, and there's still times I think, oh, I'd rather be with her than just,
yes,
but
of course,
you've gotten me through 20 months of the most painful, 22 months of the most painful time of my life. But you're amazing and you're wonderful. And I tell the world about you.
Thank
I
you.
do. I do.
Thank you. Well, I'm honored to do the work with you and along your journey, and
Thank you.
you know, and to do readings for you and connect you with Monique. And I tell people all the time that it's not that you can't receive the messages that I receive. It's just sometimes you're in pain, or you just want to hear instead of work hard, right? To hear them, you just want to hear what they have to say. And it's easier for somebody like myself who can just be the messenger and just allow you to receive, versus you doing the work. I do the work for you to
Yeah, I like it when you
communicate.
do that.
Yeah, to communicate the message is so much easier, right? Let me do
Yes,
the work
yes.
for you, because I mean, it's not that I don't second guess what comes through. I do sometimes, you know, but if I trust it, which I have worked harder and longer at trusting the messages, I can just be the messenger, and it allows you just to sit and receive, which sometimes that's just what you need, you know,
Yes.
it's just to receive.
Yes. You have helped me so much. Thank you.
You're
And today
absolutely
was
welcome.
amazing. Amazing. Thank you. I love you so much.
I love you too. I love you too.
You
So
have a beautiful weekend.
you too.